Hello, everybody. This is Rudy, K5RC, the Antenna Whisperer, here with a special interview of a good buddy of mine, Tom Taoramina, from Virginia Highlands, outside of Reno, Nevada. He is K5RC, and his station at the Comstock Memorial Station on the top of the mountain there with his antenna farm, a famous antenna farm, is W7RN. So welcome, Tom.
Hi, Rudy. Good to see you again.
Yeah. So we're here to hear about your illustrious career as a ham radio operator, and particularly as about being a famous contester. And so let's start off with the obvious first question. When you were first licensed, when was that, Tom? Was that
19,
before or after Lincoln was shot?
it was just a little after. It was 1959 when I first got my license.
Did you say 55?
59.
59. Wow, you beat me out on that one, man. All right. So that was things were a little bit different then, weren't they? Um,
Indeed, they were. I had to deliver newspapers to get enough money to buy my first receiver, and that was an S38E, which my mother
okay.
picked out. And the problem with that was it didn't have a power transformer. So I kept tripping circuit breakers when the plugs were in the wrong way. Uh, I, I built a single 6L6 transmitter, uh, 40 meters only. And
Crystal control?
oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Uh, and the antenna was someone gave me a trap dipole, and I hooked it up to my windowsill and went out to the only tree in the yard and then cut the excess off. I mean, I never made any contacts past W0, but like you said, that was the time. I mean, that's what we did when we first got our license.
It's not quite like buying the appliances that we are used to just buying off of Amazon and having them show up the next day, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think people are still building. They're still messing around. But a lot of hams, they just want a toaster oven and turn it on and operate. They don't want to mess around with anything. You tell them they have to build a cable and they freak out. But fortunately, there's still some experimenters. I guess experimentation is still alive and well. Maybe not building your transmitter from scratch so much, but experimenting with antennas, building accessories, building little kits like QRP kits and other kinds of stuff. Building your own ATU based on N7 DDC, things like that. So looks like kit building is still alive and well. So, so tell us, what got you into ham radio anyway?
Interesting story. I worked in a hi-fi shop when I was in high school, and I was really into hi-fi. I was there for the first week of stereo. That's how old I am. My next door neighbor was started building a Heathkit receiver, and sooner or later, I vanquished hi-fi for ham radio. Jack, we were licensed on the same day in '59. Jack is now K4WSB, and he's an active DXer. And he came out in June for our 65th reunion. So he lives in Florida. That was a lot of fun.
Okay, so your friend Jack got you into ham radio.
Yep, he's
Cool.
responsible. Every time my
Well,
wife yells at me, I tell
so what
her, I'm
was it about ham radio that particularly got you hooked?
listening, first of all, of course, listening to stations all over the world. That's why one of the reasons I got the S38E. It was a all band radio, and just getting QSLs from RAEM and NHK and HCJB. That was a hoot. And in fact, it was for the first 5 years we run up from the school bus to see what was in our mailboxes.
Interesting, when people actually still sent QSL cards.
Yeah.
Yep,
Uh,
I have
we
a
still
wall
have
full of QSL cards.
we have a QSL manager. I don't know how many he sends out, but on Logbook of the World, we have 370,000 contacts.
Wow. Holy crap. So let's move on. Let's talk about what got you into contesting.
Interesting story. Harry Daniels, W2HD, who was Silent Key president of ARL, was my section manager at the time. And he said, get into these CD parties. It'll help you pick up your speed. And uh, I was immediately hooked. I had to get an ORS appointment just to get in those parties, but they were a hoot. And they have transitioned now to the NCJ NAQP contest, which we invented in a hotel room at the National Convention in Kentucky. There was, I think, five of us, and I was the only one sober.
Interesting. Okay. So what were a few of your most memorable highlights from your contesting days?
Well, we did a lot of crazy stuff in the Texas DX Society. Uh, Contesting, uh, we got friendly with the radio club in Nuevo Laredo, and we went down several times looking for some place to operate. And finally, we wound up, one of the guys who hadn't said a word, he said, let's take him out to my place. I said, how many acres do you have? He said, well, I don't know. It goes from that river to that mountain. He had an original land grant hanging on the wall, but had no idea how many acres he had. Uh, so we loaded up. We just did field day. We loaded up motorhomes, trailers with towers and antennas, and I think we went like four times for different contests. And you know, we set amazing records for the ARLDX contests. And we were Air DX, but we were just across the border. So that was one of the most memorable. Also, when I lived in Texas, we did a lot of multi-ops, and they were always a hoot. Just having the guys there, the camaraderie was amazing. The I won't go into the nasty stuff they did. It was true camaraderie, and so all of those contests were big. I'm also proud of the fact that K5GN and K5ZD, who were big contesters, did their apprenticeship at the station. That's when I started. K5ZD called me SO, station owner, and that's when I turned all the contests over to other people.
Oh, interesting. So tell us about Field Day 2006. You and I have a shared story about that. First of all, tell us the genesis of that story because it's a great story. Tell us how it came to your mind, how it came to your attention, and then what you did to approach me, and then what we did about it.
Well, that's great, great question. Um, in 1986, well, in that genre, uh, we were at a Texas DX Society club meeting, and we would get into uh, the county hunters contest, CW, and put on a lot of counties. There's 256 counties. So one fine day, one of us said, well, why don't we put them all on? And so we got maps and colored, and because Texas is all flat, and well, it's not all flat, but the highways are direct. So you could put your cruise control on 70 and just change counties every 20 minutes. And that's what we did. And after that, we said, let's put on every county in the fifth district. So we did Oklahoma, Mississippi, Louisiana the next year. I think that record still stands. All the counties were on the air. So, long story short, we called them the Great Armadillo Runs. And the armadillo was our mascot. That wasn't enough. The Texas Sesquicentennial, sesquicent- sesquicentennial came around, and the same group sitting around drinking beer said, let's have a special county for uh, for the sesquicentennial. I said it twice. Uh, so we said for that, oh, first we did everything we could do to find out how to put on a brand new county. If you just change the county name, it doesn't make any difference. Someone came up with the brilliant idea that the Texas, there's a series of roads that go all through Texas that they were the first wagon trains were. I've forgotten the name of the trail, but we petitioned the government in Texas, and by gosh, we went to a signing where the governor declared anybody on that set of highways was on Armadillo County. We got a big write up in QST, and they said, why don't we put all the counties in the United States on? Now it's only 3,000 something, and believe it or not, well, we didn't get close, but I think we had 2,000 counties, and that was another big splash in QST. Unfortunately, there was a heat wave in the southern United States, so they couldn't. Remember the days when you couldn't run your air conditioner and your ham radio? So we lost most of the W4 states. But again, this was a TDXS is a club of what we call the rowdies. There are like half a dozen of us continually picking this stuff up. So for the sesquicentennial, Armadillo County counted, and at the end of the year, it was deleted. So there'll never be another Armadillo County again. And for the 20th reunion, I think it's 20 or 25, I invited the club in Texas up to have a reunion. And you were one of the invitees. I think we were heavy into working on one of your projects back then. You can tell about the project. So we decided to enter field day, and you came up with the idea of natural energy, and tell the rest of that story.
Oh, well, I think most of it is credited to you, Tom. I think you were the one who actually did some digging in the field day rules about the multipliers you can get for running on 100% renewable energy. And the trick was, of course, usually when you're running 100% renewable energy, you're thinking of solar and batteries, right? And you're probably not thinking full legal power for like 4 or 5 stations at the same time. So, um, so Tom actually suggested that to see if we could run his field day stations on biodiesel. And I said, yeah, absolutely, we could. So I rented a 10 kilowatt trailer generator, diesel generator trailer, filled it up with biodiesel, and we ran the entire weekend at how many stations was that, Tom? 4 stations, 5 stations?
3 stations.
3 stations. Okay, 3 stations, full legal all weekend on 100% pure biodiesel renewable energy. And some of the guys from the SNARS, the Sierra Nevada Amateur Radio Society, were there. And to this day, they remember that the most memorable thing about it was they were hungry all weekend because they were smelling French fries frying all weekend long. That's what they remember most about that weekend.
Yeah, it kind of
So
wafted over the hilltop, didn't it?
yeah, wafting over the hilltop. Exactly correct. So good. So Tom, let's segue into the Comstock Memorial Station because I think there's some big changes afoot there. Tell us about it. Tell us some of the technical specs that you've set up, and maybe a little short quip on some of the hoops you had to go through to get those bloody antennas up to begin with. Go ahead, Tom.
Well, let's start at the beginning. I built my first contest station in Houston, we had two young kids, and there was no antennas possible. So I bought a house that backed onto 5 acres of wellheads, which couldn't be developed, and we put up 6 towers out in that pasture. But I still had a residential house. Well, when I connected with my ex-partner, he W5FU, who was known for as K5R back then, uh, he looked at my installation, said, "That's crap. Let's do it right." So he he bought 5 acres. Excuse me. And he said, "We're going to do everything right here." No, he said, "You design it, I'll fund it." Well,
Cool.
that worked well until Hurricane Alicia came through, took down 6 towers at my house and 5 at the new place, all in one evening.
Ouch.
So we kind of lost touch with each other uh, for a good number of years. But he came to the reunion, and we're sitting there, and he's drinking a beer, and he says, "Why don't we do it again? I'll pay for it. You design it. You get it put up." So that was the kernel, and we decided on the name Comstock Memorial Station to honor a lot of the silent keys we both known. Of course, I've known many more than he did, but they still keep coming. So we have a list on our website of w7rn.com of who the station is dedicated to. And it's a pretty interesting list. It includes 9 and 1 mm from Nepal and other people in our club. I1UIY, he was here every year for Isaiah DS convention, and he would come over with a big Samsonite suitcase, and it was full of cheese wheels and the liquor, the lemon liquor. And then when he took all that stuff out and gave it to Midge, he'd fill the suitcase with QSL cards because he was the Italian QSO bureau. Anyway, I deviate. So we started in 2007. Uh, I think we had 3 towers up at the time, and we sat down and designed it. We brought N6BV out here who wrote antenna terrain analysis program. We fixed where each of the towers were going to go based on the plot that says put it here, don't put it here, for where you're going to put towers. And then he said, "You want stacked 80-meter beams?" Well, okay, we went to another ham who had monopoles built and put them up, and the county came out and said, "Take them down. They're not permitted." So we wound up digging them out of sand where they'd been for 20 years, had them repainted, had the bearings changed. So we now have a 125-foot monopole and a 175-foot monopole for the stacked 80s. And I have no compunction in saying Optibeam 80s are nothing but junk because they lasted about a week before both of them came apart. K7NV tried to rebuild them, came apart again. We decided not to put a stack up anymore. And he finally said, "Okay, I'm going to design it from scratch." And I've got a binder over there where he did all of the design on SolidWorks, and then he had simulated wind tunnel tests done. So he said, "That's going to stay up." And he's right, it's been up for 12 years. Never missed a lick. The other thing you were alluding to was when those monopoles or berthas were delivered to here, they left them out in the street for everyone to see. And some of the neighbors just went ballistic. "No, you can't have any more. No, you can't have any more. Can't have any more towers." Uh, and while they wound up getting the sympathy of a lady that was deputy district attorney who wanted to be district attorney, and she had the building department give us a retroactive 10-year work stoppage. It was cease and desist back to the first hour. She said, "You're going to have to go through the whole permitting process again." So, of course, we hired K5RC, Mr. Antenna Zoning, and we spent 4 years in federal court. And it wound up when the judge got us all together. She said, "Let me get this right. Tom has preemption from the FCC. He's under the PBR1 ruling, and you've got a bunch of pissed off neighbors. Tell me it ain't so." So we wound up with a special use permit. It's been in effect 13 years now. So that was a healthy chunk of money and time and aggravation. And they had petition signing at the mailboxes. And I said, "Who are you going to send the petition to?" They don't do work by petition in the government. So that's how we started. And again, it was everything first class. We had 8 concrete trucks lined up in the driveway the day we poured the bases and the anchors. And we have not had a single failure in all that time.
Wow.
Well, until a couple of weeks ago, the monopoles use pop pitch rotators. Unfortunately, K7NV is now a silent key. So one of them just went out on the 80-meter monopole, and I think I have a source for them, but that's another story.
So Tom, just go through and give us a quick inventory of your antenna farm.
Um, what we have? Yeah.
Yeah.
160, it's phased verticals. 80, it's a 3-element beam and a dipole. 40, it's a stack of 2 4-element stack at 70 and 140 feet. And we have a lower 2-element 40 on that tower, the 125-foot monopole. 20, we have 4 over 4 over 4 over 4 on a 140-foot rotating tower. We've got another 20 fixed east and another one fixed on Australia. 15, we have 6 over 6 over 6 over 6.
Wow.
They're on the same pole with the 80-meter beam. And then we have a 6-element 15 at 150 feet. That's just a killer to Europe. We've also got a 6-element fixed to the Caribbean. 10 meters, 6 over 6 over 6 over 6 on the 125-foot monopole. And one antenna pointed at Australia, another one pointed east. Until a year ago, we had a 6-meter EME array here that K5XI put in. He's now decided to build his own station in central Arizona. So he's putting up towers and hanging beams all over the place. Took his toys and went home.
Wow. So, and then now tell us about your rigs that you have there. What are you running? How many, and what are their configurations? What equipment are you actually running in the station?
Very good. Grady, W5FU, my partner, first of all, he was one of the first to die from COVID in 2020. So he left me high and dry. But his mandate was all Elecraft equipment. He went to a convention and got bit. So we have 3 K3Ss and one K3. And so we had 2 operating positions for a long time. Unfortunately, those rigs are now old. They still work fine, but they're at least 1 generation behind. He would have bought K4Ds if he was still alive. We have 2 Elecraft amplifiers, KPA 1500 and we have two ACOM 2000As. Another anecdote, if you see pictures of the station 15 years ago, Grady wanted an amplifier on every band, 6 amplifiers, and he picked the Mtron, uh, which had uh, two tubes and was capable of 6 kW. Uh, that never happened because I wouldn't let it happen, but they were mounted in the wall. Six $13,000 amplifiers. And
Wow.
every one of them failed. The final tubes, we replaced every one of the 12 final tubes over a year. So that's what the station is like. We have 2 meter repeater and a 432 repeater on the big poles. So unfortunately, where we live, we don't have much coverage, so the repeater's not used very much.
So, as I understand it, Tom, you have the facility, or at least did for a while, of people being able to operate your station remotely. Is that true?
Yeah, when COVID hit, it said no more multi-ops, obviously, and so we put in 2 remotes. Two of the K3s are remoted, and there's people on them almost every day. Our initial one was Ellen White, W1YL. She filled up 5 ARL logbooks in about 3 years operating remotely.
Wow.
So that's dwindling too because there's no money to do the upkeep. There hasn't been any money to do the upkeep since 2000. So we accept donations. We're 501c not for profit. We accept donations. That's the only way we can get money. And it's been touch and go.
Interesting. So, can people still operate remotely?
Oh yeah.
How do they find out about this?
Well, one of them is K5EWW. We were in the DX Society together. He's 83 or 84 and still on the air every day. And then word of mouth, he hooked up with another guy in Southern California, and the word just kind of spread. Well, Ellen spread the word mostly. Uh,
You have a website,
yes, W7RN.com.
w7rn.com, and you can find out how to operate remote from that website?
Yeah, we still have the remote thing in there.
Excellent.
Unfortunately,
Excellent.
we're not soliciting any new operators because of the last subject that I have to disclose. Uh, in September, I got long COVID. It lasted 4 months, completely tore up my pulmonary system. It affected every working system in my body. You see, I've still got a, after 5 months now,
Wow.
and I'm not recovering. I have a walker full time. I'm on oxygen full time. And the doctor said, you got to get off that 6,500-foot mountain or your heart won't take it. So fortunately or unfortunately, my 2 sons came out. He said, Dad, we want you close by. So we're currently getting ready to put the house on the market and move into a retirement community in West Houston. And so there's another page on that website that's W7RN for sale. I'm hoping we can find another ham to take over the whole thing.
Right.
I've already got
I mean,
K1V.
it just basically walk in and operate. It's plug and play.
Oh, yeah, yeah. We called the guys have key, will travel. So it's very unfortunate. I'm not on the air myself at all anymore. I just don't have time. I'm working on my health. I just published my 20th book. I'm doing promo for that, and I'm doing online training.
Well, speaking of books, you have a book on Amazon that I think you wanted to share. It's 73 and DX,
Yeah,
60 years of ham radio, a retrospective.
yep, It's the whole story if you want to know the whole story. It's the Kindle
Oh,
book.
so it's up on Amazon and it's available in Kindle.
Yeah,
Excellent. 73 and DX by Tom Taoramina. Taormina.
little city in Sicily.
Well, great, Tom. Any last thoughts before we go?
Yeah, I published a couple of articles called "What What a Great Run I Had for 65 Years." I have just met so many people, befriended so many people, been mentored by many people. I've been a mentor to others. You mentioned SNARS. I used to have gatherings up here before COVID to demonstrate HF and put them on the air. Uh, that the memories I have are incredible. I wish I could can them. And I wish I could thank some of the silent keys for the direction of my life. Well, you and I worked together in business, ham to ham, right? I had many of those. As a quality control engineer, I visited more than 700 companies. And I, my, I just have so much to be thankful for. And I have mixed feelings about moving back to Texas. My family's there. That's the big upside. And another upside may be getting rid of all the stuff and all the maintenance and all the headaches and all the heartaches that go into running a station like this.
It's a lot of work, a lot of details you have to keep track of. You've got one hell of an antenna farm. I know because I used to be your next door neighbor up on the hill for a little while.
I
Now
never,
I'd be looking down at all the top of your antennas or looking across the road to all of your antennas. So um,
I'll never
that
forget.
that's
I'll never
that's how
forget
we met.
that. Yeah,
Actually, I said, this guy's a ham radio operator. I got to go introduce myself. So I did, and that was many, many years, many moons ago, back or just around 2003, 2004, somewhere around there. And yeah, well, Tom, thanks so much for your sharing your experience and your thoughts and some of your interesting anecdotes. Any last words of wisdom you have for new hams and would-be contesters before we go?
well, I grew up with ham radio and made all of the transitions from 1960 to about 5 years ago when I suddenly was, I'm suddenly at a point where I see our club here. Uh, I think they got around 400 members and only about 20 are on HF. So I'm now an anachronism. I don't do digital at all. It doesn't interest me. I don't have anything against it. It just doesn't interest me. And we now sell end-fed wires for antennas. No, that's beams prevail. So I've really become an anachronism. I can't. Oh hell, 30 years ago when Midge got her license, I said, "Let me help you with it." She was sitting there with flip cards. She said, "No, I'm going to do this by myself." And then I looked at the cards. I didn't know it was 30 years ago. I didn't know the answers to some of those questions. So ham radio and I have evolved together, and I encourage any new operators to look at a variety of subgroups that we have. It's almost infinite. You could be teletype, you can be FT8, you could be on 10 meters only. Investigate all of these. If you're not in a club, find one and join it, because that's where the information you'll get. And some of them, I was secretary of the Larkfield Amateur Radio Club when I was 14, and the old curmudgeons with the cigar in their side of their mouth said, "Don't get on phone. Don't get on phone until you mastered CW." Well, again, CW is now not what it once was.
Yeah, it's
So
anachronism.
it's a time for me to retire gracefully.
All right. Well, very good, Tom. Thank you so much for sharing and for your time and 65 years of experience all packed into quick video. Obviously, we couldn't really touch on too much of it, but hopefully we got some of your highlights. And I wish you the best of luck in finding a ham operator who wants to come in and just take over your whole house and your station as is, and without having to tear down all of that wonderful antenna and tower stuff there and try to piece it all out. That would be very, very sad after all your efforts to put it up. So again, Tom, thank you so much. That's K5RC Tom Taoramina in Comstock, which was named after the Comstock lode, the silver find that they found in Virginia City, if I'm not mistaken. So that's W7RN.com is their website, and you can check out more information from there. So with that, Tom, I will let you go, and we will wish you all the best and take care of your health there. I'm going to go ahead and shut down the recording right now. Thanks again.
Thank you.